Hey guys and girls, my name's Dan, welcome back to The Forge. In this episode, trust me, I'm a blacksmith. I'm going to make these dividers from the Blacksmith Bible. In this episode we are making the dividers. The dividers are on page 36 and 37, it's under calipers, etc. We made the calipers last week for Martin Taylor, otherwise known as Ginge. He's a Patreon, he got to choose what was going to get made from this book. After I finish this page, basically this is the last one I'm going to do from this page. After this one I'm going to move on to another Patreon, which is Chris. Unfortunately I made quite a big mistake about halfway through this video, which you will see at some point in this video, and it's taken extra time to make these. So what I'm going to end up doing is doing 2 episodes and releasing them sometime this week. So you'll have an extra video this week. And hopefully you enjoy it. I'll give you more information about the Blacksmith's Bible and the Patreon at the end of the video. Right, so dividers. For this we're going to be using a piece of 16mm square or 5/8 square medium carbon-ish steel. I drew this out from a piece of fork truck tine. Get yourself a bit of truck spring or something, normalise it up, cut a bit out and then forge it to 16 square, I would recommend. Or buy some flat ground stock. It's all going to work just the same. The only thing is you need to be able to heat treat the ends so you can sharpen them so that they work like dividers should do. Now what I've done is there's 340mm of this. I think in the live I said there's 400, but there isn't. Or 13.5 inches. Now I have said this before, I will be using all the tools in my workshop to make stuff. But instead of doing 2 individual set downs, I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to do 1 set down at a time. 1 set down for both of these, and then turn these into the hinge plate, I hope. And then I've marked from there, from the centre, 100mm, so that it will give me. This is where I'm going to set down for the tapered parts, for the points, so that we can do those bits. So I'm going to get on with that now, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so this is a set down I've done here. Both these bits are hot. This piece of H13 here, I'll explain that in a second. Here's a set down. I'm going to chop this in half in a minute and we're going to do the rest. But before I chop it in half, I need to heat one side up. And this slot punch thing that I've made, I need a very narrow slot to punch in one side so that we can fit the little slide arm through. That's going to basically decide what angle that the calipers are going to be at. I've got to do that bit next, and then we'll draw out for the points. I've ignored all the markings that I made before because what I realised was after I drew this out, I'm going to end up punching a hole in it, and it's going to put a few things out, so it's going to move my hole around a little. So anyway, these need to cool down, and I'm going to do that, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, you might want to get an assistant or potentially a hold fast.
An Alex.
Or an Alex in this case for this. But basically, I'm just going to use this H13 slot punch I've made, which I need a very thin. I need a very thin hole put in here now, which is very difficult to say the least. Now the H13 definitely is going to give me an advantage here, but you can do this with a piece of spring steel or something, and that will give you the same same advantage, I'm sure. Flip that over, Alex. And there it is there. But this fork truck tying is pretty tough stuff, and will put up quite a fight if you let it. Okay, we're through. Nice. So, like with a hammer eye, this is basically going to be a series of slots, followed by a little bit of forging, and I'm just going to repeat that process a couple of times until I have something that I'm reasonably happy with. Come through on the other side this time, I think. This piece of plate that I'm using has got a lot of stress in it from the rolling process, and as we've been heating it like that, it just breaks on you, which is excellent fun. And there's all the other ones. Well, one last try, and I think otherwise we're going to have to make it out of steel, unfortunately. Before I go cutting this in half, I want to start drawing down the tapers to make the points, and I've marked 100mm from the centre, just past this slot here, and I'm going to start drawing these down now into some nice tapers to make the points. So I'm going to do both sides. Okay, so this is a complicated little build, this one. This is our, these are going to be the actual arms of the dividers. Next job is just to cut this in half, make these look nice and round, and I'm going to drill the holes. I'm not going to punch the holes. I also just want to get in here with a bit of a file and just tidy everything up and make it look really nice. This is the slide. This needs a turning, putting through an arc. Which I think I'm going to have to try and work out somehow. I'm not sure how that's going to go yet. And then I've made this little thumb screw, and that's going to end up going in this part here. I don't know if you can see that little thumb screw there. That's going to go in here, so that needs drilling and tapping. And then another spring washer in here. That's going to help keep the pressure on. And I've got a rivet for this one that I'm just using. I think the domed head of this rivet is going to look quite nice on the spring washer. And then basically pass that through, and it's going to look pretty dapper, I think. So the next job is just to let this normalise. This is normalising, and then we're going to cut it in half, drill the holes, and tidy it all up. Alex has been helping me today. He's been doing all the little bits of fettling for me. He's sort of made this little thumb screw, and it's basically a nut that's had the head flattened on it ever so slightly, and he's also done this bit here, and that passes through there nicely. So I'm quite happy with how we're coming along. So I'm going to get on with the assembly now. I've made a slight technical error. These two items are supposed to overlap each other, like so, but they're supposed to be on opposite sides, which they're not, because I'm an absolute imbecile. So what I'm going to try and do, but Alex has just suggested a good idea, make another one, but I don't have the time to make another one at the minute, is I'm going to try and get this really hot and see if I can knock that over the other side, he says. But we're about to find out whether or not I'm a brave idiot or I'm a super intelligent human being. Okay, so I'm going to try and fix this, and in order to do that, I'm going to place very hot. I think everything's going wrong right now. Okay, so nice and hot, and I'm just going to try and bring that over, which it's done, sort of. Okay, so not the best job in the world. I'm not the proudest of having to do this. Oh, and now I've got the drop seeds as well. But it will do what I need it to do. Oh, that's a crying shame. I shall remember that for next time. Okay, not great, but okay, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, very interesting.
We learned lots, didn't we? And after that big boo-boo, yeah, it sort of set us back a bit. So hopefully you enjoyed the next episode. In the next episode, I'm going to remake the arm. I'm going to use a power hammer to do that, and we're sort of going to set it up and get it all working. That's everything, I think, isn't it? Yes, this is the arm that we messed up. So I could have probably made another set if I'd have been thinking. Alex said afterwards, "Oh, you could have saved that when I made another set." And I was like, "Damn it, Alex, you clever person, you." So anyway, they work lovely. You'll obviously have seen some images of these as we've been going along. If you want to support the channel, Patreon is a great way to do that. Obviously, the Patreons that have sponsored these, videos, these are going to get some of their stuff sent out. The next guy that's getting this stuff made is going to be an axe for Chris. So go over and check my Patreon out if you want to find out more about supporting the channel and obviously this tier level. I think there aren't any more spaces left for this tier, so you can't unfortunately do that. That's everything. So thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that bell for notifications. I make videos on a Tuesday, Thursday, and every other Sunday is live, with the occasional extra one here and there. Chat your comments down below, let me know what you thought. What do you think?
Yeah, very interesting. It's nice to, like you said, it's nice to make a tool that's useful.
Yeah.
In a way, yeah. Useful.
Yeah, they came out well. I really enjoyed making them, so I really enjoy this sort of work, if you can get it. So yes, thank you for joining us. I will leave a link to a video up here of me making the calipers. I will leave a link down here to me making something else. This is a Patreon. Go and check that out. It's a great way to support the channel, and that's the subscribe button. Thanks for joining us, guys. Bye bye.